Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
We have dense fog in parts of the viewing area. I'll show you when it's likely to lift and just how messy it will look as you head out the door.
And Monday's torrential rain still causing major issues for people along the coast trying to get around flooded roads. How people are getting creative as they wait for the water to recede.
And a high-stakes meeting gets underway today as the Fed decides on how much to cut interest rates. What this could mean for you and the loans you may be trying to pay off there. A lot happening here today, of course, as well as all the fog that we're waking up here as we look at Dix Park. Thanks for joining us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. I walked out of my door this morning and I was like, whoa,
like,
I did not expect this. Yeah, definitely a morning to take it slow if you have to go out. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking the visibility right now. We do have a dense fog advisory.
Yes, it stretches all the way from Chatham County to over around Edgecombe County, right to the center of the viewing area. This is where we had that stationary boundary set up yesterday with all the rain. And so more moisture in this particular part of the viewing area than anywhere else. And so that's why the fog has developed. We take a live look here at Zebulon, and you can see that beautiful town hall. They're sitting in the fog there in the distance. Visibility is at about 1/10 of a mile in the triangle, and it's better than that in most other places. We take a look at what happens next. We're going to see some sunshine breaking through mid to late morning, and then that sunshine interacting with the moisture is likely to help to produce some scattered thunderstorms this afternoon, especially from the triangle area northward. But coming up in a little while, we'll walk through Futurecast and I'll show you who's likely to be most affected. It will be a warmer afternoon with a high this afternoon of 81. Ken?
Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, we have an opportunity to show you where those foggy conditions are. The red shaded area, that's where the fog is most dense this morning. Parts of Raleigh and all points west. We have a couple of things we want to bring to your attention this morning, made even more challenging because of the foggy conditions. There's a crash on South Rogers Lane near I-87 in the northbound lane. This is a crash with injuries. We're not seeing any particular issues right there on Rogers Lane, but we are seeing a bit of a slowdown there on Rogers Lane. So keep that in mind if you're about to head out this morning. Pool Road might be an alternate route for you this morning when you're living in that area. Down in the Gardner area, Vandora Springs Road, there's a crash near Timber Drive. We're not seeing any major problems in that particular vicinity, but just watch for the police activity if you happen to be in those neck of the woods this morning. Boy, let me tell you, it's been a really interesting period of time here around I-85 in the southbound lane there, westbound lane. That crash is really in the clearing phase. You're looking at maybe a 1 or 2 minute delay, but the real trouble spot really is northbound lanes getting into the Bull City. I just checked the sensors. It's going to cause you about an 8-minute delay heading into the Bull City this morning. Let's bring you back to Wake County, show you I-440 and Capitol Boulevard, the foggy conditions. You can barely make out the traffic this morning. We also have WRAL's Nick Perlin in the WRAL, he's out there monitoring road conditions for us. He's on North Raleigh Boulevard. You can see the foggy conditions there that you're having to drive through this morning. Really and truly, I can't stress enough, leave the house a little earlier than usual this morning because of these foggy conditions.
All right, Ken, thank you. University Drive is back open in Durham this morning. A fallen tree blocked the road for some time. The WRAL Breaking News Tracker got a look at this situation just before 2 o'clock this morning. The tree came down near Blackwell Street, and it took down some utility lines with it. But at last check, the Duke Energy outage map didn't show any power outages to that area.
Today, Governor Roy Cooper is heading to the coast to get a closer look at the recovery efforts from severe flooding there. Look at this video. He plans to meet with local emergency management officials there. He will start the tour in Southport.
A major road to Southport is still closed this morning because of Monday's torrential rain. Flooding is cutting off parts of Highway 17, and the same is happening with other major roadways. We're talking about 211, we're talking about 133. The state DOT says reopening the highways, it's a top priority. However, they have to wait for the water to recede before they can fully assess the damage. People living nearby are being, a little creative to get around.
I was pretty much able to ride the bike the whole way through this. I mean, I got about a quarter of the way through and it threw me off my bike, so I had to walk through. So, yeah, it's pretty deep for sure.
Can't fight nature, my friend. Officials added they are proud of the work everyone has done to keep people safe, and at this point, no reports of injuries.
Former President Donald Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, will be in Raleigh this afternoon for a rally. North Carolina has proven to be a key swing state both sides of the aisle are working to gain. WRAL's Laura Levine joins us from Union Hall in downtown Raleigh. And Laura, this will be Vance's first visit here.
Here and what is truly a battleground state. We know the doors will open here behind me at Union Hall around noon. That's where J.D. Vance is going to speak to up to 700 people. Now, the latest surge in visits from the presidential nominees and their surrogates come as polls show a very tight race for the 16 pivotal electoral votes in our state. Now, Trump's running mate, he is expected to speak about inflation, grocery costs, and the housing market, according to the campaign. Vance was just in Greenville over the weekend, where he said it would be very hard for the Trump campaign to win in November if it does not hold on to North Carolina. His stop today comes a day after Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz rallied in Asheville. Now, former President Donald Trump, he will close out the week with a rally this weekend on Saturday in Wilmington. This will be his first stop here in North Carolina since the second assassination attempt. Senator J.D. Vance will make his remarks today at 3 p.m. Laura Levine, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
And tonight, former President Donald Trump will be on Long Island for a campaign rally. Authorities there say security is going to be tight for that event. That's in direct response to the second apparent assassination attempt on Trump. Last night, Trump was in Flint, Michigan for a town hall event, and he talked about the messages he received from President Biden and Vice President Harris after that situation at his golf club.
President Biden called me yesterday. It was very nice. We had a very nice conversation. A little while ago, I got a very nice call from Kamala. No, it was very nice. It was very nice.
Just this past Monday, Trump blamed Biden and Harris for creating a culture of, quote, hatred and abuse in politics.
And Vice President Harris spent Tuesday in Philadelphia. She participated in a panel for the National Association of Black Journalists. She said the message that she shared with Trump is the same she's been sharing all along.
I checked on him to see if he was okay.
Yeah.
And I told him what I have said publicly. There's no place for political violence in our country.
The country say is the number one.
And Harris will team up with Oprah Winfrey tomorrow for a national live stream event. And covering Wake County today, first responders can get a free breakfast in Raleigh as a salute to their service. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us from the Chick-fil-A on East Six Forks Road. Kelsey, this comes as a first responders appreciation ceremony also happening this morning.
Yes, Renee, good morning. So if first responders aren't able to go to that appreciation breakfast, we know that we do appreciate you because you've got free Chick-fil-A. So free chicken biscuits will be given out at 2 locations in North Raleigh. So this one here, this is the Midtown location. And then there will also be free chicken biscuits at the Chick-fil-A location that's on Six Forks Road near Strickland Road. You can see video of first responders grabbing their free breakfast last year. First responders just come in your uniform or with your ID to claim your free biscuit. This is just a small way to say thank you. Today's Chick-fil-A giveaway is happening in conjunction with the Greater Raleigh Chamber First Responder Appreciation Breakfast. More than 450 first responders are expected to attend this morning. WRAL's Dan Haggerty will be emceeing the event. WRAL is a proud community partner. All right, first responders, we hope to see you here in the drive-through line. You can get your free biscuit until 10:30 this morning. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
And it's probably a good time to get you a live look at the First Responders Appreciation Breakfast Kelsey was just talking about. It got started about 8 minutes ago. You can actually watch this event happening and the award ceremony for the first responders and their families. WRAL is a proud community partner. If you want to watch this, go ahead and go to WRAL.com.
Today, interest rates could be cut. They could be cut for the first time in 4 years. As Amy Kiley reports, the stakes are high as the Federal Reserve will meet later today.
We are going to see a bit of cutting.
Analysts seem to agree the Federal Reserve is likely to cut interest rates for the first time since 2020 today.
Yes. That at least I can guarantee you.
The question is, by how much?
The economic data argues that they go for 1/4 of a percentage point cut.
The decision to do a half would be telegraphing a much greater message.
That hypothetical message could be for investors. Some worry the Fed's efforts to lower inflation could go too far and result in a recession.
If unemployment is increasing, if the things are slowing down, is there a risk that by going gradually and getting this process started in a sort of patient way, you actually let the job market cool too much?
That's why today's Federal Reserve meeting is high stakes for Americans. A strong economy correlates to a higher standard of living.
If the Fed nails this, if they manage to cool the economy down without sort of sending it careening off a cliff, we're all going to feel that because it means the job market will stay stronger than it otherwise would. Unemployment won't shoot up as much.
A more direct impact the Fed has on Americans is that rate cuts make it less expensive to repay certain loans.
If you are hoping to buy a home or if you are hoping to sell a home, this probably changes the calculus for you at least a little bit.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
And that Fed meeting gets started at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We will be sure to update you on the decision on the WRAL News app and on our evening news that starts at 4.
Time is 8:10. New testimony reveals the decision-making ahead of the doomed mission to visit the Titanic wreckage last year. What a former OceanGate employees shared about the corners that were cut ahead of the voyage.
Plus, waiting in a long line at the post office to renew your passport, that's a thing of the past. The brand new way you can skip the line starting today.
And look at it or don't here. This is supposed to be RDU Terminal 2 back there in the fog somewhere. I'll show you when this will start to lift and just how messy it may be for your commute.
Welcome back. Check out this view, or partial view, I guess you could say, of Durham right now. All of the fog. You're looking live there. You're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. I might argue, I think it looks worse in Raleigh right now. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner, where is that?
This is actually from the North Carolina Museum of Natural Science. The legislative buildings here, we're kind of looking across parts of downtown there. We're starting to see a little bit of improvement. I should have moved the camera over slightly because that's the sun there on that far upper right corner, kind of shining through there. That sun's going to do a number on this fog and low cloud cover that we're seeing across our area. And we're beginning to see just a few hints of improvement in some places. Now, we haven't really moved the needle here in terms of what the visibility is there at RDU. It's about 1/10 of a mile, but it's not as bad anywhere else, at least on these sensors that we're looking at. We do have the dense fog advisory in effect until 10 a.m. from as far west as Chatham County to as far east as over in Edgecombe County. The reason that it's here is because this is where we had a band of rain setting up yesterday, and it just kept raining and raining and raining. So this is where most of the moisture is still lingering this morning, and that has allowed that fog to form. Here's what's happening. Big picture, we have the low pressure system that helped to produce all that heavy rain a day or so ago. That will gradually slide eastward, but the humidity will continue to stick around, all that moisture. So we'll have a chance of an afternoon storm today and tomorrow. But by the weekend, that slides off to the east. You can see where that low is right now, currently drifting to the west. But as we get into Friday, it'll start to slide offshore and open the door to a northwesterly flow, which will be cooler and drier and definitely less humid. But in the meantime, we're dealing with this tropical air mass. Yesterday, we had all the rain around the triangle area, and it eventually shifted northward. That's where the rain will start today. We'll have a chance of isolated thunderstorms. There's 5 o'clock. Not a lot of coverage out there for us today, but we'll have at least that potential for 1 or 2 storms to pop up. Same thing on Thursday, and then that low takes off and moves in out over the Atlantic, and that will shift our winds to northwesterly. Should dry us out nicely with some pretty weather for the weekend. A 40% chance for today and tomorrow, and then looking at nice dry conditions for Saturday and Sunday. Checking our forecast, rainfall, not likely to be a whole lot over the next few days of those isolated thunderstorms. We're just not going to see a whole lot of rain, but boy, we've had a lot of rain. We're on track for the 3rd wettest year to date at RDU. Look at that, 9 inches in July, almost 9 inches in August, and 7 in September, and that's really kind of put us over the top. Outdoor plans over the weekend, though, looking good. Some cloud cover Saturday, but it stays dry, and Sunday, the first day of fall, looks phenomenal. A 60% chance that Gordon redevelops, but we're not too concerned about that. What we're watching is the potential for a system to develop down here in the Caribbean, and that could lift up toward the Gulf Coast next week. So that's kind of the next thing on our radar that we're watching. Of course, this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon, we'll have that that potential for some isolated thunderstorms. We're going to talk about when the humidity begins to fall. Coming up, Ken.
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL traffic center, as you just mentioned, Elizabeth, the fog not letting up. The red shaded area showing you where the fog is most dense. Got a couple of incidents to report to you this morning, just so you know exactly what's going on out there. This just happened, a crash involving a bus on South Blunt Street. This is in the downtown Raleigh area near Wolf Street. We've got the WRAL breaking news tracker on the way to that scene to see exactly what's going on. But right now, we're not seeing it causing any problems in that particular area, but just watch for some police activity there. We'll also keep monitoring this crash on South Rogers Lane near I-87 in the northbound lane. It's a crash with injuries. We're working to find out a little bit more about what's happening there. But this is on Rogers Lane proper, but we're seeing the usual congestion on those southbound lanes of 87 this morning, probably looking at a 3 to 5 minute delay as you're coming in this morning. Down there in the Garner area, we're watching this crash on Vandora Springs Road near Timber Drive. That's a real main thoroughfare for a lot of people living in Garner coming into the capital city. We're not seeing any major issue there on Vandora Springs or Timber Drive, but just keep that in mind as you're heading out this morning. You're heading out, listen to us on the radio. You can pop us on at 101.5 HD3.
A digital traffic sign on UNC Chapel Hill's campus that was altered to read CH loves Trump had some drivers doing double takes. The sign in question is on South Columbia Street. UNC says a staff member was alerted to the message on Monday and it was deleted. People that we spoke with say they don't like the idea of someone being able to change the message on a warning sign.
I think that people need to find a different way to go about, endorsing their candidate of choice.
Most digital signs such as this have a passcode for protection. It is unknown how the person who changed the sign was able to gain access.
Fayetteville Fire and Police Departments are investigating a crash involving an SUV and a cargo train. This happened around 4:45 yesterday afternoon near the intersection of Moore and Orange Streets. The people in the SUV were able to get out before this crash, but you can see the SUV there just banged up. CSX told us no one on the train was hurt, and they praised first responders.
Another former employee of OceanGate is calling attention to glaring safety issues he saw before the Titan submersible's doomed voyage. Former operations director David Lockridge testified during the second day of a Coast Guard hearing into the disaster on a mission to the Titanic wreckage. And he said the company was motivated only by money, disregarding safety in the process.
Cost cutting, bad engineering decisions. I would say that's the two main things. The desire to get to the Titanic as quickly as they could to start making profit.
Lockridge says that he was fired after pointing out issues that he spotted in an inspection report. 5 people, including OceanGate's CEO, died when the submersible imploded during its mission last year.
This week's no-name storm had a lot of people confused and asking, why didn't it get a name? Let's go ahead and bring in meteorologist Chris Michaels a little bit for this. And Chris, explain why it was never actually called Helene.
So it all had to do with the structure, the center of the storm. I think of storms like apples, right? They both have cores. In a tropical storm, it's got a warm core because it's feeding off of the release of heat via condensation and the warm ocean waters. But in a normal cold core storm, that happens when it's formed due to a temperature difference along a front. So when you're underneath that storm and you're getting a foot plus of rain, you're getting gusty wind, you could care less about what the core is, right? Because it felt like a tropical storm, one where there's wind of 39 to 73 miles per hour. You look at the reports from Monday, especially Wrightsville, Wilmington, Southport, you had wind gusts 55 to 70 miles per hour. So it felt like a tropical storm. At the same time, there were many reasons why folks were caught off guard. Number one, the rarity of the rain. Come on, 15 to 20 inches of rain. That doesn't happen much. People react to a name more. And there's also that whole potential tropical cyclone, a new thing that happened with the National Hurricane Center just a few years ago. We're walking into that in more detail on WRAL.com. But yeah, Chris, folks definitely react more when you hear a name, right?
Well, and it's not, we didn't get Helene, no, but we haven't, there's a whole list of names already pre-chosen for the hurricane season, right?
Yeah, and every 6 years. They're already chosen from now until 2030. So, yeah, if you hear about Hurricane 11 from 2005, you don't know what we're talking about. But if I say Hurricane Katrina,
oh yeah,
now you start to remember, right? So I think if it were named, especially along the coastal communities where we're used to this, maybe we would have reacted a little differently. But it's almost impossible to prepare for 20 inches of rain.
All right. Thanks for the insight, Chris.
You got it.
Starting today, you won't have to wait in line to renew your passport at the post office. You can now renew it online through the U.S. State Department's website. It comes 2 months after 200,000 people took part in a beta test. The agency estimates 50% of passport renewals will be done online in the future, and passports that have been expired for more than 5 years do not qualify for the online application.
Instagram is making some changes aimed to protect young users on its platform. The new teen account setting that will take effect happens next week. Accounts for users under the age of 18 will automatically be set to private and placed in the strictest of messaging settings. Only people that are already connected to will be able to send them messages, tag them in photos, or mention them in comments. The new settings will also restrict what kinds of content they view. They also get time reminders. We've got a traffic and weather update coming up in just a bit.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. We are taking you above the clouds. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner has a beautiful view from our WRAL tower cam. The fog slowly starting to move out.
Yeah, I love this one. This one's in East Wake County. We're looking off to the west. You can see a big hole in the clouds right here and some buildings, but still a good bit of low cloud cover and fog in places around Wake County. But it's beginning to break up. You can see a few breaks in those clouds beginning, and we'll see much improvement over the next 2 hours. The advisory is in effect until around 10 a.m. for most of our central counties, where we've seen some pretty thick fog this morning. We're still down to about 1/10 of a mile across the Triangle area. It is likely to break up before lunchtime with some sunshine, but a chance of a few scattered thunderstorms about the time that you might be walking the dog this evening, Ken.
All right, happening now in the WO Traffic Center, live traffic cam showing you there. The fog is heaviest. You see covering all of Wake County for the most part. You move a little farther to the east, you're looking at a half mile visibility this morning, but we're seeing the usual spots building in terms of congestion building this morning as a result of the fog, made even challenging by that. You're looking at an 11-minute delay coming in on US 1 from Apex, another 7-minute delay if you're coming in from the Bull City this morning. The other trouble spots include our friends in Wake Forest. You got a 12-minute delay coming into the capital city, as well as a 10-minute delay on those southbound lanes of 87.
All right, thanks, Ken. University Drive in Durham reopened this morning after being blocked by a fallen tree. That tree came down near Blackwell Street and brought some utility lines down along with it. The Duke Energy outage map does not indicate any power outages in that area right now. And next on Fox 50, a look at the flooding North Carolina's coast is dealing with after a tropical system dumped inches of rain. And next on Today, Tallulah Willis shares her story on her adult diagnosis of autism and an update on her father.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Beginning to see a little improvement in our visibility, at least here in Apex. I'll show you what it will look like as you head out the door with our lingering fog.
And more than 100 roads are closed along the North Carolina coast. People there are working to clean up after the storm. We have more of these images as roads have collapsed, causing vehicles to plunge in.
And 2 special breakfasts are happening now for first responders who work to keep our community safe. As you take a live look at Chick-fil-A and then the annual First Responders Appreciation Breakfast on the right-hand side of your screen, how local business leaders are saying thanks this morning. We are saying thank you to you for joining us on this Wednesday morning, this foggy Wednesday morning. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
And I'm Chris Lovingood. Yeah, it was really hard to see coming in. Almost hit a deer. That wasn't fun.
Oh, boy.
But we're okay.
That's not good.
Yeah, we made it safely. But take your time while you're driving this morning. Things are actually clearing up, it looks like, over in Apex behind Elizabeth Gardner.
Yeah, things are getting, we're starting to improve somewhat. You can definitely see toward the end of Salem Street at this point, which you couldn't earlier. But we're still seeing some fairly dense fog in some places, and the advisory is in effect until about 10 o'clock this morning. It's for our central counties, so from as far west as Chatham County to as far east as Edgecombe County, that's where our advisory is. And the reason for this is right where we had a boundary set up yesterday and where we just had rain falling over and over for hours yesterday afternoon. So this is where most of the moisture was as we went into last night. overnight and early this morning. So that's why the fog developed here. Still looking at just a tenth of a mile officially visibility at RDU, but we're going to start to see those clouds breaking up pretty quickly over the next hour. We should see partly cloudy skies by late morning. And then late afternoon, the partly cloudy skies will likely turn into some scattered storms, but not for everybody. Coming up, I'll show you who has the best chance of seeing any thunderstorms later today. With more sunshine, it'll be warmer this afternoon, too, with highs in the low 80s, Ken.
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center, that is some good news that things are beginning to ease up a little bit when it comes to the fog, but you can still see it indicated here on those red shaded areas on our live traffic sensors this morning. As we isolate the belt line, you can see the congestion that's building made even more challenging because of the foggy conditions out there. The south side of the belt line, you're looking at a 3 to 5 minute delay this morning. A couple of things we want to bring to your attention this morning if you're heading out. There's a crash involving a bus. We're trying to get some more information about it. It's in downtown Raleigh, South Blunt Street near Wolf Street. We're not seeing any particular delays in the area, but we're working to find out exactly what type of bus is involved in that. This is a crash that's likely in the clearing phase on South Rogers Lane proper near I-87 in the northbound lanes. It's likely clearing right now, but I just wanted to let you know that it's happening just in case you see some more police activity in that area. But we are seeing the usual congestion coming off the 87 southbound lanes there onto those westbound lanes of the Beltline this morning. And let's take you outside and show you what's going on with the Beltline. This is I-440 in Capitol Boulevard. You can barely make out the traffic this morning. So just give yourself some extra time if you're heading out. If you're listening to us on the radio, we'll also keep you posted. And of course, you can do the same. 101.5 HD3 all across the triangle.
Thanks, Ken. University Drive in Durham reopened after 5 this morning. It was blocked by this fallen tree. The WRAL breaking news tracker was there just before 2 this morning. The tree came down near Blackwell Street and brought some utility lines down along with it.
No traffic
in Brunswick County on the North Carolina coast are closed for the rest of the week. More than 130 roads are still closed because of flooding from Monday's powerful storm system. More than 1.5 feet of rain was dropped in some of these areas. Look at this on your screen. Many communities are cut off because of all of the damage to their roads. Roads collapsed, and that led to vehicles plunging into holes. Authorities are asking people to stay home if they can. Drivers are being forced to use detours there to take them miles out of their way.
Usually it takes me 15 minutes. It took me an hour this morning. Most of the roads were closed between my house and here, so I ended up having to go probably 15, 20 miles extra.
A local fire department shared these photos to Facebook showing some of the water rescues that crews had to conduct. They say since Monday morning, they have rescued roughly 20 people and 4 pets.
Yeah, the flooding has just been so intense there. And Governor Roy Cooper is headed to the coast today to see the damage and also the recovery effort. He plans to meet with local emergency management officials there. He will start his tour in Southport.
Welcome to the WRAL Live Center. I want to take you to Southport and show you from the drivenc.gov map exactly what roads are affected only by weather from the storm. So these are the roads that are noted here. This is Southport, close look. So as the governor's detail makes its way through, this is Brunswick County. That road is impassable. Okay, this one washed out, it says. Okay, this one, the bridge is closed. Okay, how about all the way down? What's this road off the coast here? What is that all about? That's the ferry, okay, over to Bald Head Island, and that is closed because of the road conditions in the surrounding area. Now, if I bring it back up to a statewide view and give you the potential tropical cyclone 8, these roads that are affected, 23 incidents on main roads, 45 of them, and just take us in here to now the center of the state, bring you up into our area. You don't see too many up there. There's one up in Wake County near Kimmy Road. That road is closed, and these are only closures that are due to weather events. Take you down to Johnston County. There's one over in Harnett County as well, flooding and high water. The main causes of the road closures.
Yeah, mess on our coast. Thanks, Jeff. And you can always find live weather updates on the free WRAL News app. It allows you to watch radar in real time to see when storms are in your area. Be sure you have the WRAL News app downloaded with alerts turned on. The Triangle is taking center stage in the presidential campaign again today. Republican vice presidential nominee Senator J.D. Vance will be in Raleigh for a rally. WRAL's Laura Levine explains this comes a day after Democratic VP nominee Tim Walz was in North Carolina.
The doors will open at noon here at Union Hall, where Senator J.D. Vance is expected to speak to up to 700 people. The latest visits and surge in visits from presidential nominees as well as their surrogates comes as polls show the race here in North Carolina is very tight for the pivotal 16 electoral votes. Now, Trump's running mate is expected to speak on inflation, grocery costs, and the housing market, according to the campaign. And Vance was just in Greenville over the weekend, where he said it would be very hard for the Trump campaign to win in November if it does not hold on to North Carolina. His stop today comes just one day after Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz rallied in Asheville. Trump closes out the week with a rally this weekend in North Carolina and Wilmington on Saturday. This will be his first stop here in North Carolina after the second assassination attempt. As far as J.D. Vance, his remarks will begin at 3 p.m. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Today, the Federal Reserve is expected to cut interest rates for the first time in more than 4 years. The central bank is expected to cut rates by 0.25% or 0.5%. Now, that could be favorable to people signing up for new credit cards or trying to secure a home loan. Rates have been rising steadily since early 2022. It's been a part of the effort to slow down inflation. Experts say if the Fed goes too far in the efforts to do this, well, it could result in a recession.
If the Fed nails this, if they manage to cool the economy down without sort of sending it careening off a cliff, we're all going to feel that because it means the job market will stay stronger than it otherwise would. Unemployment won't shoot up as much.
That Fed meeting gets started at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and we will be sure to update you on the decision on the WRAL News app and our evening news starting at 4.
Today, the family of a black man found dead with a rope around his neck in Vance County will share more in their push for answers. Javion McGee's family plans to speak at a news conference at 12:30 this afternoon in Henderson. They'll be joined by prominent civil rights attorneys Harry Daniels and Lee Merritt. McGee was found dead a week ago today under a tree near a parking lot where his truck was found. Surveillance video shows a man who appears to be McGee buying rope at the Walmart the night before he was found dead. But his family says evidence points toward a murder, not a suicide.
Covering Wake County today, a free breakfast is awaiting first responders in Raleigh as a thank you for what they do every day. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey tells us this is coming as an appreciation ceremony for first responders is happening right now.
This morning, all first responders can get a free chicken biscuit at 2 Chick-fil-A locations here in North Raleigh. So the first location is this location here. This is Midtown. And then there will be free chicken biscuits at another location at the intersection of Six Forks and Strickland. You can see video of first responders grabbing their free breakfast last year. First responders just come in your uniform or with your ID to claim your free biscuit. This is just a small way to say thank you. Today's Chick-fil-A giveaway is happening in conjunction with the Greater Raleigh Chamber First Responder Appreciation Breakfast. More than 450 first responders are expected to attend this morning. WRAL's Dan Haggerty will be emceeing the event. WRAL is a proud community partner. All right, first responders, we hope to see you in the drive-through line. Your free biscuits will be available until 10:30 this morning. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Now, we do want to give you a live look at that first responders appreciation breakfast that Kelsey mentioned. Dan Haggerty just spoke a little bit ago. We have another speaker up right now. And if you're interested in watching this, you can do so as you see this award ceremony for first responders and their families in Raleigh. You can do that by going to WRAL.com, and WRAL is a proud sponsor of this event.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs will be back in a New York federal courtroom this afternoon. Combs is facing charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. He's being held in the federal detention center in Brooklyn. A judge yesterday denied him bail because he has previously reached out to witnesses and victims. The U.S. attorney handling the case says the charges date back to at least 2008. Combs has pleaded not guilty. The crew members who made history by conducting the world's first civilian spacewalk are sharing their experiences, how they say they've changed since that experience.
And Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is now on the injured reserve list. We have an update on his recovery from a concussion he suffered last week.
And let's take you live out to North Hills. Yep, this is North Hills. You see a lot of fog. Fall is just a couple of days away. Just ahead, meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is helping you plan around this fog and also helping you plan your weekend.
What is this? It's not even fall yet. And it looks all spooky outside. Looking live at Wake Forest this morning. A lot of that fog still hanging around from overnight. The good news is, though, this is not going to cover us the entire day. We've got meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking that right now at a very foggy Durham.
Yes, it looks a little bit better. Earlier this morning, you couldn't see this building at all. And so you can start to see the visibility improving a little bit. Still low cloud cover, but it is in the process of breaking up across the area. And the fog advisory is in effect until about 10 o'clock this morning. It is 68 degrees. Our dew point is 66, and we'll see temperatures climbing into the low 80s this afternoon, but that's because we're going to see a bit more sunshine. Officially at RDU, at last check, we are still at about a 1/10 of a mile visibility, but 10 miles in Fayetteville, Rocky Mount, Goldsboro, and South Hills, definitely seeing improvement across the area. Hour by hour, by the time we get to 10 o'clock, our visibility in the triangle should be back up to around 5 miles, and then it just increases. We're going to see a beautiful sunny afternoon. There's still some patchy dense fog out there this morning. There's been a little bit of drizzle with that, but gradually we're starting to see some improvement. By lunchtime, we'll see partly cloudy skies for most of us, and that should feel nice and warm, starting to dry out, but it still will feel muggy today. And then late this afternoon and this evening, some scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially from the triangle area northward. If you remember yesterday, we had this line of rain just right through the middle of the viewing area, including the triangle, just kind of sat there almost all day. Gradually, it started to lift up northward into Virginia, where it is right now. And then that's where it'll start this afternoon, and then we'll start to see some of those showers and thunderstorms drifting southward. But look at this, at 5 o'clock, a good bit of sunshine too, and then from Raleigh northward and eastward is where we'd have the best chance of a few scattered showers and storms. We will repeat that again for Thursday. Same pattern sticks around. 81 for the high in Raleigh, 79 in Durham, and 83 in Fayetteville. It is going to be rather muggy, feeling very tropical for the next couple of days. But then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we start to see some improvement. We're going to see the low pressure system that brought us all the rain a couple of days ago finally moving on out, and it will be replaced by a much drier, much more comfortable air mass. A little breezy Sunday, 77, partly cloudy skies. A perfect fall day for the first day of fall on Sunday, so that's going to feel great. And it looks like that trend will continue. Look at this. These overnight lows start to dip into the 50s, so we may have some jacket weather in the mornings next week.
Tomorrow is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. WRAL lifestyle editor Kathy Hadrian is here with a list of ways to help you and your family celebrate. Let's start with an event in Raleigh, Kathy.
Okay, so the Raleigh Parks Department is celebrating on Thursday with some special fun things on the Greenway. Okay, if you go to Walnut Creek Wetland Park, Lake Johnston, the Upper Neuse Greenway or Shelley Lake, you'll see some pirates with signs directing you to search for some treasure and some prizes, so very interactive.
Love a good treasure hunt. That's so fun. Also, North Carolina has a lot of pirate history, including a lot involving Blackbeard. How can people learn more about that?
So Talk Like a Pirate Day is a great day to visit the North Carolina Maritime Museum in Beaufort. You can see Blackbeard's wrecked ship. Blackbeard has amazing stuff. Queen Anne's Revenge, that was his big ship. You've got cannons, you've got weapons, all kinds of great stuff. And we have a list online of other places that you can kind of visit connected to Blackbeard's history.
Very cool. Are there any other pirate-related events coming up this year?
You know there has to be more pirate stuff, right? Talk Like a Pirate Day is a great day to make plans to attend pirate-themed events in the state. Okay, the Beaufort Pirate Invasion. It's a huge reenactment event with pirates happening November 22nd through the 24th. And over at Ocracoke Island, Blackbeard's Pirate Jamboree is planned November 1st and 2nd. It's a big living history festival.
Very cool. And right now on WRAL.com's family section, there's a list of more ways to explore pirate history in North Carolina. All you have to do is search keyword family. Thanks, Kathy. Well, Wake County school board members are showing their opposition to the expansion of school vouchers. This comes after the school system told board members they believed House Bill 10 could affect the school system's bottom line. The bill expands funding for opportunity scholarships by $463 million. Most of that is for this year. The money would pay for 54,000 more students to attend a private school using a public voucher. Opponents want the money to go to public schools instead. To hear more of what school board members said, you can go to the education section of WRAL.com.
Hezbollah is vowing to retaliate against Israel after targeted attacks on pagers used by Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Hundreds of pagers exploded nearly simultaneously yesterday across Lebanon. At least 12 people have died and thousands of people were injured. A source told CNN Hezbollah recently bought the pagers and gave them to members. The New York Times reports Israel hid explosives inside the pagers, which came from a manufacturer in Taiwan. They were embedded with switches that allowed them to be detonated remotely. The Israeli military has not commented publicly on this. Days after returning to Earth, the crew members of the Polaris Dawn mission opened up about what they experienced in space. The crew is made up of a billionaire entrepreneur, Jared Isaacman, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Scott Petit, and SpaceX engineers Sarah Gillis and Anna Menon. During their mission, they saw the planet from orbit, and they floated in weightlessness and conducted the world's first all-civilian spacewalk. And when asked about what it looked like back to Earth, 870 miles above, they say it just made them more reflective.
The fact that we had such an intense schedule, there was moments that you would be scanning and you'd catch a glance of the Earth or a sunrise, the dawn, a sunset, and it's so mesmerizing.
The crew spent 2.5 years training for this mission, which they hope will serve as a stepping stone toward future long-duration trips, possibly to the moon or even Mars.
Oh, that is just so cool. Well, the Miami Dolphins have placed our quarterback Tua Tagovailoa on their injured reserve list after his latest concussion. Officials say that this gives him the time to work with a neurologist. Tagovailoa was forced off the field during the Dolphins game against the Buffalo Bills last Thursday after diving for a first down and taking a hit from Bills safety Damar Hamlin. He'll be out for a minimum of 4 games. The earliest he will return is for Miami's home game against the Arizona Cardinals. That's on October 27th.
When it comes to teaching all the world's stage, as Shakespeare once wrote, this is true for this week's Teacher of the Week. WRAL's Ken Smith introduces us to a theater arts teacher directing her students to success on and off stage.
Down stage, center stage, sit down.
Julie Kate Hazelrig has mastered the art of teaching students about the joys of showcasing their acting skills on stage.
There's a phrase that I use is be the person who you needed when you were younger. And I think back to those adults who were influential for me, who made an impact on my life. And I do get to see those glimpses of when they have like a breakthrough moment. And it's exciting to see it.
Now in her 12th year as a theater arts teacher at Garner Magnet High, Ms. Hazelrig never forgets the teachers who influenced her. Now she gets to pay it forward.
I kind of see myself as kind of like a coach. It's not the same as coaching a sport, but in a lot of ways you get to see a student grow and you get close with their family and you get to watch how that student just navigates their life and finds out who they're going to be. When we come over here to the blocking style,
For Ms. Hazelrig, the classroom, or in this case, the school's auditorium, is her stage, where she is known for bringing out the creative abilities of her students through class productions.
I knew I wanted to go to college for theater once I got there, and then from there I kind of realized that teaching was going to be the path for me.
Ms. Hazelrig, you are WRAL's Teacher of the Week. Congratulations. Ken Smith, WRAL News.
Congrats to you, Ms. Hazelrig. And if you would like to nominate a teacher, go to WRAL.com and enter Teacher of the Week in the search box.
The FDA has expanded the approval of a drug that treats patients with breast cancer. Kisqali is a drug for metastatic breast cancer, but it also treats patients with earlier stages of the disease. The approval means that tens of thousands of women diagnosed with early stage breast cancer will have access to a medication that can help prevent their cancer from coming back. A clinical trial shows after 3 years of using the drug, it reduced the risk of a patient's breast cancer coming back by 25% when given in addition to treatments like chemotherapy and radiation.
And here are your winning lottery numbers. We'll be right back in just a bit.